one of my little sisters came down with a disease called lupus back in 1973, and Mayo Clinic told her it was rare at the time. Nobody had ever heard of it, and Mayo Clinic told her it was incurable, that nothing could be done. She'd have to be on prednisone for the rest of her life, and that she shouldn't have children, and that she shouldn't expect to live long, and that kind of thing. So that's what got me interested in natural health, because Mayo Clinic said that what happened to my sister was her immune system had somehow gone awry, and it was mistakenly attacking her own body, period. Said that they didn't know why. There was no cure for it and very little knowledge on it, and so I didn't buy that. I just couldn't accept that after thousands of generations of our immune system being the only reason we survive as a species. I just couldn't believe that all of a sudden it didn't know what it was doing and was mistakenly attacking who had been a perfectly healthy child all her life. So that got me interested in alternative health and alternative medicine, and started researching. And so basically, ever since 1973, I was trying to find an answer to my sister's lupus by, studying all I could and going to seminars and talking to doctors and naturopaths and learning all I could about this strange disease called lupus. Well, one of the greatest blessings in my life came back in October of 2007 when a fellow named Tom Moore taught me about Kangen water, and that was a life changer. I mean, it was the thing I'd been looking for and praying for all those years. And long story short, it has so many incredible properties that promote our health and our body's ability to self-heal that after 44 years of this incurable lupus disease, my sister suffering every day of her life for 44 years, through Kangen water, her body was able to heal itself. This June will be 8 years. So as of June this summer, it will be 8 years that her prednisone, she's been off prednisone after 44 years, and her lupus is in full remission. And what Mayo Clinic and everybody else said was incurable has basically been cured. Her body literally cured herself of that disease once we got her on Kangen water. So that's my background. I've been studying natural health science for over 50 years, and that's the reason I started studying it, was to learn about how I could maybe find something to help my sister. And thank God for Kangen water, because it was the single most important thing I've ever learned in health science. I consider it the world's healthiest substance, and I feel like there isn't anything out there, nothing that's more basic or fundamentally or profoundly beneficial to your health than this water. And in my experience, over 17 years of sharing this and teaching about this and sharing it with thousands of other people, is that there isn't any condition that the water can't help. Doesn't matter what anybody's told you about whether it's curable or not curable or what the cause is, or there just simply isn't any condition that you can't help by drinking meaningful amounts of this water. That's how profoundly beneficial it is. So back in 2007, I took courses from Trinity School of Natural Health, and after all these years of studying health science, I kind of made it official that I was becoming a professional. I'm a certified natural health professional. And literally, the number one thing I focus on with everybody is this water, because there's simply nothing more important to your health.
Amen. Man, that is awesome. What a great start. And so let's get into the water. Let's get into what goes on in this water. Why is it so helpful to the body? We talk about electrons. Some of us do demonstrations, all that sort of thing. So exactly what goes on within this water that helps our body so much? How does it donate electrons? Those sort of things.
Okay. Well, there's several properties that the water has, and I can review 5 of them with you, and each of them plays its role in promoting health. There's probably other properties that we don't even know about yet, because there are many mysteries of water that we still don't understand. They always said that when you understand water, you'll understand the mysteries of life, because they're all wrapped up in water. So the antioxidant potential of water is one of the most important things. And I know that several people on our call are aware of this, but there may be some that aren't aware of it, so I'll just give the basics. There's something called free radicals. And free radicals are what damage our body tissues and lead to disease, and what the aging process itself is all about. Free radicals are unstable. They're missing an electron. So their goal in life is to replace that electron, and they do it by stealing that electron from other cells or molecules in the body. So this damages. This is what the aging process is. That's what the disease process is. It all begins with the loss of electrons by free radicals attacking your tissues and stealing electrons. Think of it as rust, because that's really what it is. Just like rust oxidizes, you leave metal out on a wet lawn and it'll rust. That corrosion or rusting is really exactly what's happening to the body, and the free radicals are what's responsible for it. So nature, knowing this is the case, has its balance or its antidote for the free radicals, and those are called antioxidants. So nature's remedy is antioxidants, because they have the ability, rather than taking electrons and accelerating aging, antioxidants have the ability to donate electrons and reverse aging, to kind of heal the body and slow the breakdown of the tissues in the aging process. So the single most important benefit of the water is its ability to donate electrons to the body. It does it profoundly. To put it in perspective, just how important this water is as what we call an electron donor, ordinary things that we know of that are what we call well-known antioxidants or well-known electron donors that we get from our food. You've all heard of them. Things like vitamin C, is known as an antioxidant because it has the ability to donate electrons. Foods, green tea, blueberries, vitamin E, beta carotene, coenzyme Q10. There's antioxidant fruits and juices. Lemons, limes, oranges. All these things are electron donors. And the way it works is, for every molecule of that food, the green tea you're drinking or the blueberries you're eating, whatever it is, for every molecule of it that you consume, digest, and deliver to your cells, you get one electron donated per molecule of whatever it is you're eating or drinking that's antioxidant. And the way that works is the free radical, which is unstable and missing an electron, rather than having to steal it from one of your tissues and cause the aging process, by consuming these antioxidant foods that donate electrons, they can stabilize that free radical. They can literally donate that electron, so the free radical doesn't have to go attack one of your cells and steal an electron. Oh, the other thing is that when one of your cells is attacked by a free radical stealing an electron, that cell is now missing an electron because it was stolen. So now it becomes a free radical. It's sort of like the old vampire thing. You get bit by a vampire and you become a vampire, that kind of thing. And, it's in the movies, but that's that same concept. A healthy cell that gets electrons stolen from it, now it's missing electrons. Now it becomes a free radical, and it has to go out looking to replace that electron. So you can see that to have peace in your body and to kind of balance everything and stop this assault on tissues, you need electrons. So with ordinary foods, you get one electron per molecule. Vitamin C is the exception. It's one of the reasons it's such a well-known antioxidant. You actually get 2 electrons per molecule of vitamin C. But Kangen water is a game changer, because for every glass of Kangen water you drink, you literally get millions and millions of free electrons. That's absolutely amazing. And the reason is because one of the tiniest things in nature are water molecules. They're just so small. So every glass of water has literally millions of molecules of water. H2O, 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. Now, ordinary water, what you call bulk water, just, water out of the ground, out of a river, out of a stream, out of a lake, out of the ocean, out of your well, out of your city tap, whatever. Ordinary water, it does not donate electrons. It's not an antioxidant. It's the matrix of life, and it's necessary for everything, but ordinary water doesn't have the ability to donate electrons. Kangen water does. And you might say, well, why is that? How is it possible that Kangen water can be an electron donor when ordinary water isn't? Well, as you create Kangen water, as you run it through our machines, as it goes through this process of ionization through electrolysis, when the water, after going into the machine and through the filter and then going over our platinum-coated titanium electrode plates, when the water runs over these electrode plates, we introduce a very powerful electrical current, 230-watt electrical current, into the water. And, put that in perspective. We all know what a 60-watt light bulb looks like or what a 40-watt light bulb looks like. Well, think how much more powerful a 230-watt light bulb is. Matter of fact, I've never seen one. I've seen them as high as 150 watts and stuff, but 230 watts is a lot more power. And so as the water's running over these electrode plates, 230 watts of electricity is being sent through the water. And what happens is that that electrical current shocks the water. So I hope I'm not making it too complicated, but I'll just carry this a little bit further. So think of water as H2O. You got the one oxygen and you got two hydrogens that are bonded to or attached to the oxygen atom. So that bond is a bond of electrons. And in water is what they call the handshake of bonds. It's a very weak bond, so it's easily broken. So water freely dissociates or breaks apart. So the H2O, oftentimes the hydrogen will break away and reunite and stuff like that. So molecules form clusters, then break away in water. Well, what happens when you put the Kangen water, the electrical current, into regular water, making it Kangen water, the electrical current, as it hits the water molecule, it's breaking off one of the hydrogen atoms from the water molecule. Sometimes it breaks off both of the hydrogen atoms. So when you're drinking Kangen water, you're no longer drinking H2O. Most of the water is now H1O. It'll have, instead of having oxygen with two hydrogen atoms attached to it, it's oxygen with only one hydrogen atom attached to it, the majority of them. So that's one of the incredible things about Kangen water. It's different than ordinary water because the water molecule has been split by the power of that electrical current that runs through the water as it goes over the electrode plates. So what happens is, because there are millions and millions and millions of molecules in a glass of water, as it becomes Kangen water, you end up having millions and millions of individual atoms of hydrogen floating in the water. Instead of having, H2O, and you have this H1O, they call it the hydroxyl ion, but they also have the leftover, the individual hydrogen atoms floating in the water. And hydrogen is like number one on the periodic scale, and hydrogen only has one electron. But when hydrogen is individual, it's not attached to oxygen, but when it's individually floating in the water, when hydrogen alone comes in contact with platinum, it releases its electron. So our electrode plates are coated with a nice thick coating of surgical grade platinum. The plates are titanium, but they're coated in platinum. And platinum, is very expensive, so that's the number one reason for the cost of the machine is the platinum and titanium, these precious metals. So when you run the water over the electrode plate, you not only introduce the electrical current, but some of the little tiny trace amounts of platinum diffuse into the water. And when that platinum comes in contact with the hydrogen atoms that are freely floating, those atoms release their electron. So because there are literally millions and millions and millions of molecules in a glass of water, once it becomes Kangen water, it means there are millions and millions and millions of free electrons floating in the water. So I took a long time to explain all those, but so you'll understand the details of how it really is so incredibly exceptional. Instead of getting your electrons from, eating 10 pounds of blueberries a day or something like that, you could eat 10 pounds of blueberries a day and not get as many electrons as you do from 1 quart of Kangen water in a day. That's how powerful it is as an electron donor. So it's a complete game changer because the entire aging and disease process begins with loss of electrons. So the entire healing process and age-reversing process depends on replacing those electrons. And I'll go a little further with this just to put it in perspective. One of the leading research institutes in the world that's sort of ahead of the curve on the science on free radicals and, how they're involved in aging and what antioxidants, the potential of antioxidants and everything, it's Stanford University. And one of the things that researchers at Stanford University has uncovered is that every single cell in your body, and again, to put this in perspective, you've got trillions and trillions and trillions of cells in your body. That's how tiny cells are. I've heard estimates, read anywhere between 40 and 100 trillion cells in the average human, depending on how big they are. Well, Oh, I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought there for a second. Every one of those cells, every single one of your trillions and trillions of cells is attacked by free radicals stealing electrons more than 10,000 times a day. So think of how pervasive that is. Every single one of your trillions and trillions of cells is attacked by free radicals stealing electrons from the cell membrane over 10,000 times a day. So this is literally the chemistry of life and death. So loss of electrons is the aging and disease process. It's where it doesn't matter the name of your disease, doesn't matter what label they put on it. It all begins with the loss of electrons, and all healing. And again, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's healing your skin from a cut or a burn or getting over a cancer or diabetes, whatever it is, all healing begins with replacing the electrons that were lost. So there's nothing more important in the healing and health aspect than electrons, and there is no greater source of electrons in all of nature than what you can get from drinking Kangen water. And then one other thing, just to show you how exceptional it is. Ordinary antioxidants, when they donate an electron, they are now vulnerable and can become free radicals themselves. That doesn't happen with the electron donating capability of Kangen water, because you're donating this individual electron from the hydrogen, but it doesn't. But after it donates the electron, it doesn't become a free radical. So it's really a game changer. It's simply the most powerful antioxidant in the world by far, and it's what all healing depends on, is replacing those electrons.
Wow.
You can tell incredible. I'm a detailed person. I'm sorry if I'm going on too long about something, but I try to explain things in a way that everybody can understand it and see how profoundly important it is. Because what we're representing to the world, when we take the time to tell a stranger about Kangen water, or a family member, or a loved one, or a business associate, or someone at church, or someone we meet in our daily lives, when we take the time to tell them about Kangen water, it's not just an ordinary thing we're telling them about. We're literally telling them about the world's healthiest substance, the single most important determining thing that they can do to their body to promote their health and longevity. That's just one of the reasons, Wade. That's just one of the reasons. There's at least 4 other incredible properties.
Let's get into those 4. This is incredible. Let's go to number 2 then.
Okay. Well, next, I think the next one let's talk about is the water's ability to detoxify the body. How to literally neutralize acid waste and clean out these toxins that we're exposed to every day of our life that accelerate the aging process. Ordinary water has some cleansing abilities. It will it cleans out your body tissues. It washes through and neutralizes and dilutes acids and stuff like that, and can flush some toxins out of your body. So the ordinary water, that's one of the reasons it's so beneficial, is it helps cleanse the cell. I learned this from Dr. Dave Carpenter, the analogy of thinking of water as it is in a fish tank. That when you have good, clean, fresh water in the fish tank, the fish are so healthy and they swim around happy, and he likens the cell to a fish tank. So think of the water inside your cells as the fish tank, and then the little things inside the cell as the fish. When that water starts to get dirty, toxic, you can see it in your fish tank. If you haven't changed the water, it starts to get murky and dirtier, and if you don't change it, it gets murkier and dirtier as the fish excrete their waste products into it. And if you don't change the water, eventually the fish you'll come in one day and they'll be belly up dead, because you didn't cleanse the environment of the fish, because you left the dirty water in there. That's the same way in our bodies. You have to change the water inside your bodies also. You have to change the water inside your cells, because you're cleaning out the waste products from your cells just like you clean them out of the fish tank when you change the water. So that's one of the things that ordinary water does. Now, Kangen water is leaps and bounds more beneficial than ordinary water. Besides just the ordinary ability to cleanse things, Kangen water has a special ability to cleanse that no other waters have. And the way that works is, in nature, there are what we call electric charges. Some things are neutral, and water's neutral. Ordinary water out of the well, out of the ground, out of the river stream, out of your tap, it has no electrostatic charge. It's not positive, it's not negative, it's just simply neutral. The reason that it's neutral is because the charge is from the atoms. So oxygen has a negative charge of O2. Of negative 2. Oxygen has a negative 2 charge. Hydrogen, which is what's attached to oxygen to make water, hydrogen has a positive charge of +1. But since there are 2 hydrogen atoms per molecule of water and only 1 oxygen atom, you have the negative 2 from the oxygen atom, and you have a +2 from the hydrogen, because each one is 1, and 1 is 2. So water is neutral. It's balanced. It's +2 on the hydrogen and -2 on the oxygen. Now, a lot of things are imbalanced, so they're not neutral. They literally are either positive or negative. So ordinary water has no electrostatic charge. But when you run our ordinary water through our machine, it's no longer ordinary water, because as the water goes through the machine and over the electrode plates, and as the 230 watts of electrical power are infused into the water, it not only breaks off the hydrogen atom, but it also splits what we call the water molecule. Excuse me 1 second. Had a little frog in my throat there, sorry. So as you split that hydrogen atom off the water that we talked about earlier, about its antioxidant potential, it not only frees up that electron, but what it also does is it creates water that now has a charge. So when you have the Kangen water you're drinking, most of the water molecules now in the glass, millions and millions of them, have only 1 oxygen and 1 hydrogen rather than 2 hydrogen. So now what you've done is you've created negatively charged water, because you still have the -2 from the oxygen, but you only have 1 + 1 from the hydrogen remaining. So, +1 and -2 ends up leaving a -1. So you now have a negatively charged water, which isn't what ordinary water is. Ordinary water has no charge. It's neutral, but now you've got negatively charged water. That's very, very beneficial to the body, and the reason is that we have things that accumulate in our bodies. Toxins, toxins are things that, steal electrons, basically. You can get them from pesticides and herbicides, things they spray on the crops. You can get them from food additives, things that they add to the food, like preservatives and, different chemicals. They put thousands of different chemicals in our food supply. All these things are poison to the body. They're not really of nature. They're chemicals that man's created, and they serve a purpose, but they also damage the body. So you've got all these toxins, and one of the, things like chlorine that they put in your drinking water, it disinfects the water, but as it remains in the water, it's literally toxic to the body. In the same way it kills tissues, kills germs and stuff like that, it also kills our cells. Fluoride that they put in the water is one of the worst things you could ever put in your body. As a matter of fact, Dr. Dean Burke, head researcher at the National Cancer Institute, said that fluoride causes cancer and cancer death faster than any chemical in the world. And they've been having us drinking it for 50, 60 years now. So, there's a lot of toxins that we're exposed to every day that end up accumulating in our body. And again, this is part of the aging process, because these toxins are unstable and they're stealing electrons. They're promoting diseases and aging. So one of the things you could do is neutralize free radicals from the electrons, but another benefit of the water is, now that it has a negative charge, one of the things in nature is that opposites attract. Everybody's heard that expression before, how opposites attract, but it doesn't just apply to, male and female and personalities and stuff. It applies to the laws of physics. So almost all of these things we call toxins, the chemicals and pesticides and things that accumulate in our body over our lifetimes, they have a positive electrostatic charge. Well, our water has a negative charge, and opposites attract, just like a magnet. Like the North Pole of a magnet will attract to the South Pole of a magnet. That's the same way it is with our water. So when you're drinking Kangen water, you cleanse and detoxify the body dramatically more powerfully than you do with ordinary water, because you're not just washing or rinsing toxins out of the body, you're literally pulling them out like the power of a magnet. So as you go through life and you age, you've got your detoxification organs like your liver and your kidneys, responsible for breaking down toxins and filtering them out of the body. Well, a lot of toxins end up getting stored in your fat reserves. when you have more toxins in your body than what your liver and kidneys can filter, which, happens when you're dehydrated and happens when you're eating a lot of junk food and kind of what we call the standard American diet. It's just full of all these toxins. They accumulate in the body as you age. They build up in your liver. They build up in your kidneys. Your body wants to get them out of the bloodstream to protect you from them. So if the body can't eliminate them fast enough through the liver and kidneys, it will dump them out of the bloodstream into the tissues. And when they're out into the tissues, they accumulate in your fat reserves. Your body tries to protect you from the acidic and other toxic effects of these toxins, so it literally insulates you from them by stuffing them in your fat reserves. It's one of the main reasons we have such an obesity crisis in our country today, not just because of all the calories in the food that we're eating, but because of all the toxins in the food we're eating. Our body is literally gorging our fat cells with toxins to try to protect you from them. Well, what the Kangen water does is, because it has this remarkable negative charge that it binds with the positively charged toxins and pulls them out of the body like a magnet, it starts cleaning out your liver. It starts cleaning out your kidneys. So old toxins that may have been in your body for 10 or 20 or 50 years or longer, the water can now go in there and attach to them and clean them out. And when you do that, it's profoundly beneficial to your health, because you're cleaning out your liver, you're cleaning out your kidneys. You literally can clean out your fat cells. You can clean these toxins out of the cell, and as you detoxify all your organs, their health returns to them. You slow the aging process, and all the functions of your organs start to improve once you clean these toxins and waste out of them. And as far as the weight loss thing, your body doesn't really want to keep all these excess fat reserves. The only reason it's keeping them so long as we're getting more and more obese as a country is because there's all these toxins in them. And you can't release the fat without getting rid of the toxins. But the only normal way to get rid of the toxins is to introduce them back into the bloodstream where they can be filtered through the liver and the kidneys. But the problem is we don't want all these positively charged toxins because they're acidic. And when you put all these toxins back in your bloodstream, you change the pH of your blood, and you can't allow your blood to go acidic. Your blood has to stay alkaline or you die. There's a balance in nature between acid and alkaline, and all your body is meant to be alkaline except your stomach. The only thing that's meant to be acidic is your stomach to digest food, but you need the acid to break down food. But every other organ and gland and tissue and fluid in the body is meant to be slightly alkaline, including your bloodstream, and it's critically important. If your bloodstream becomes acidic, you go into a coma and you die today. Your life is over. So the body can't allow the bloodstream to become acidic. And the way that it maintains an alkaline pH in your body is through the alkalinity that you get from the water you drink and the foods that you eat. So I'm jumping ahead of myself, but that's the third property of the water, is that it's alkaline water, powerfully alkaline. So you see they kind of all tie in together. So the water has an incredible ability to detoxify on a cellular and a molecular level, because it can pull these things out. And when you pull these acids, waste, and toxins out of the fat reserves, you got to get them out of the body through the bloodstream. Normally, the body doesn't let that happen because you don't want all these acids in the bloodstream, because if your blood becomes acid, it's going to kill you. But when you drink Kangen water, I'm jumping ahead to number 3 now, but the third property is it being alkaline. When you get all this increased alkalinity from drinking the water, it stores these alkaline buffers in your bloodstream as sort of as a savings account. So now you're able to get the acids out of your body and out of your fat reserves, because you now have a buffering capability in your bloodstream that allows you to take in all these acids and neutralize them so it won't change the pH of your blood, so it won't kill you. So now all of a sudden, by rebuilding your alkaline buffers in your bloodstream, Kangen water has given your bloodstream the ability, the capacity to take all these excess acids that have been stuffed into your fat reserves and remove them from the body. And once you do that, the body doesn't want to carry all that extra weight. It was just stuck with all that weight because it couldn't deal with the toxins. It couldn't take those acid toxins into the bloodstream. But now that it's capable of neutralizing those acids to get them out of the body, it welcomes them for elimination. And when you clean those acids out of the fat reserves, now the body will start burning those fat reserves for energy, and you lose weight. So you literally can lose weight just by drinking Kangen water. Without the exercise, without changing your diet and all the other things that we try to do to lose weight. one of the very best things you can possibly do to lose weight is to get the dead weight of toxins and acids out of your fat reserves, get them out of your body. And Kangen water gives you an extraordinary ability to do that. So, I mean, I've had people lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds drinking the water. I've had people lose 50 pounds drinking the water. Angie Young, who had been in an electric wheelchair for 6 years, had not walked for 6 years with multiple sclerosis. She went from 301 pounds after 6 years in an electric wheelchair. After drinking Kangen water for a couple of years, she went down to 125 pounds. She literally lost 176 pounds by cleaning those acids and toxins out of her fat reserves. I mean, that's how powerful it is. So property number one is its ability to donate electrons, its antioxidant ability. Property number two is its neutral charge, which allows it to neutralize the acids in the body that are degrading and breaking down tissue. And then the third thing is its alkalinity. You know, ordinary water has a pH of about 7.5. And again, for maybe people that aren't aware of this, that are maybe just hearing about this for the first time and stuff, there's a balance in nature. We call a scale. We call it the pH scale. Stands for potential of hydrogen. And a pH scale goes from 0 to 14. Neutral, in the middle, neutral is 7. So when we say that a liquid has a pH of 7, it's neutral. I mean, what that means is it's not acidic, it's not alkaline, it's balanced. When a liquid is alkaline, then it means it's above 7. So like 8 is alkaline, above neutral. If neutral water is 7, which that's what neutral is, but ordinary tap water is not neutral. Ordinary tap water is about 7.5 because some of the chemicals they put in the water in the treatment, things like lye, it's illegal to deliver acidic water into your homes. There's a federal law that says the water delivered into the pipes to your homes has to be alkaline. And I don't mean alkaline, powerfully alkaline, where it'll heal the body like Kangen water can. I'm talking about just alkaline so that it's not acidic. And the reason that they don't want acidic water delivered to your homes is acid corrodes. I mean, we all know this. Acid burns, it corrodes, and it does that to the pipes. So if you're constantly delivering acidic water to everybody's homes in America, the acid will literally corrode the pipes, and you have to replace all the pipes and infrastructure, and that would be so expensive and costly that it is made a law that the water treatment plants had to make sure that the water you deliver in your home is at least somewhat slightly alkaline to stop the corrosion of the pipes. They're not worried about our pipes or the corrosion of our blood vessels or tissues, but they're worried about the expense of replacing your plumbing pipes. So ordinary water that comes out of the ground, like you get water out of a lake, a river, a stream, out of your well or aquifer, something like that, that's already alkaline because it has alkaline minerals in it, things like calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium. These are alkaline minerals that make the water alkaline. What we call hard water just simply means there's an abundance of alkaline minerals. The more calcium and magnesium, the harder the water is. So, but when you take ordinary water like that and run it through a city treatment plant, where they added chlorine and all these chemicals to cleanse the water, that acidifies the water. All the residual chlorine and all the residual fluoride and chemicals they use in the water filtration and cleansing process makes the water acidic. So in order to get around the EPA law that says you have to make alkaline water delivered to the homes, they've got to take this water that they've made acidic by putting in chlorine and fluoride and get it back to being alkaline. And they don't do it with minerals. The way they do it is by putting lye, LYE, commercial lye, like they make soap with and cleansers and stuff, or ammonia. These things are extremely alkaline, and they literally add ammonia and lye to your water supply to make it alkaline so it can legally deliver it to your homes again. So when you're drinking tap water, it's alkaline water, but it's not beneficial alkaline as you would get from calcium and magnesium, the electrolytes that the body needs, for the flow of energy. It's not that kind of alkaline at all. It's actually a toxic alkalinity like lye and ammonia. So anyway, your ordinary tap water is about 7.5 pH because of the residual lye that's in it to make it slightly alkaline. Now, to put it in perspective, our Kangen water starts out, we have different pHs by pushing a button on the machine. When you start out drinking Kangen water, you start out with 8.5 pH. And the pH scale is logarithmic, which means every increase of one number is actually a tenfold increase, just like the Richter scale when they measure earthquakes. So what that means is if your tap water is 7.5 and you're drinking Kangen water of 8.5, that means the Kangen water is 10 times more alkaline than your tap water. Well, after you drink Kangen water for a couple of weeks, then you push the button and you transition up to drinking Kangen water 9.0, and that will be 5 times more powerful and 5 times more alkaline than the 8.5 was. And when you drink that for a couple of weeks, then you transition up to 9.5, and now you're drinking alkaline water that's 100 times more alkaline than your tap water, because 7.5 is what your tap water is. 8.5 would be 10 times more, and then 9.5 would be another 10 times more. So 10 times 10 is 100. So when you're drinking Kangen water of 9.5 pH, you're literally drinking water that's 100 times more alkaline than ordinary tap water or ordinary bottled water. And if your bottled water happens to be reverse osmosis, that's acidic. It's like about a 6 pH. So literally, Kangen water is like 1,000 times more alkaline than most of the bottled water sold in America. So when you're getting all these alkaline minerals from drinking Kangen water, they resupply the alkaline buffering capability in your bloodstream. Because we used to get those alkaline buffers from the minerals in the soil, from the foods we eat. And in the old days, when everybody lived on a farm and had their own wells, you would get these minerals through your groundwater, dissolved in the water through the drinking your well water. But now that everybody's drinking bottled water and commercially processed water through chlorine and fluoride and treatment plants and all that, you're no longer getting the same level of alkaline minerals in your water, and also we're no longer getting it from our food, because our modern farming practices, these big, huge corporate farms, they're not replacing all the minerals in the soil that the crops are taking out of them. All they replace is what we call the big three. Those of you that live in agricultural states, you're probably aware of this, but farmers, they put in the big three for fertilizer. It's the potassium, nitrogen, and phosphorus. That's the only minerals they add back into the soil, but that guarantees them a big crop yield. They get paid by the bushel, so the business side of it, they're all happy. But all these other trace minerals, the 70 or 80 minerals that were supposed to be in the soil that are being depleted and have been depleted, they're no longer in the food we're eating. So the ear of corn might look good, the tomatoes might look good, everything might look good in the store, but you just aren't getting the same minerals that you used to get years ago before we depleted our soils from our commercial farming practices. So as a nation, we are severely deficient in minerals, and Kangen water is helping to replace the minerals that we're not getting from our diet. Because when you drink Kangen water, there's a concentration of alkaline minerals in the water. Well, how does that happen? Again, it's part of the magic of the ionization process. It's property 3 of the water. So again, all water in nature will have minerals in it. Water is the universal solvent. When it rains, when water comes down and hits the side of the mountain, or the snow melts and it's running down the mountain through the streams, or when you're living, in non-mountainous country, just, the plains and stuff, as the water comes down into the soil, it's as it goes through the soil and runs into the streams and everything, it's absorbing minerals all the time. So when you drink the water, you're absorbing the minerals from the earth. So with Kangen water, that's increased dramatically. So you just get all these extra minerals that allow you to restore the alkaline buffering capability in your bloodstream. And I'll just touch on this again. In our bloodstream, we have a reserve of alkalinity that we keep there at all times, because all the acids that have to be removed from the body. Oh, and people might wonder, where are all these acids coming from? Well, they're coming from your diet, from the chemicals and toxins, but even from the good food you eat, even if you eat all organic food. All food is carbon-based, and when you eat your food and you digest it, it's broken down, it's carried through the bloodstream to the cells. When the food goes into the cells for fuel, for your body to combine with oxygen to make energy, well, in nature, anytime energy is produced, there's always a leftover. There's always a residual. Doesn't matter what it is. When energy is produced, there will be a residual. An example is your fireplace. When you burn logs in the fire for heat and energy, when the fire goes out, there's a residual. We call it ashes. If you have a furnace and you're burning coal in your furnace to heat your house, when the fire goes out, there's a residual. There's now cinders in there. So in your car, when you're burning gasoline, the residual is the exhaust fumes that go out the tailpipe. So always in nature, when energy is produced, there's a residual, a leftover. It's the same in your body. When your trillions and trillions of cells are making energy every moment of your life to keep you alive, as energy is produced, there's also a residual in the cells. There's a leftover in the cells. And just like in the fireplace, we call it ash. When you burn fuel in your cells, there's ash left over in the cells. And 97% of all the foods that you're going to eat will leave some form of acid ash in your cells. And one of the keys to health is your body's ability to neutralize that acid ash and eliminate it from the body, get it out of there. Because what does acid do? Acid burns, acid corrodes, it destroys tissue. And as acid accumulates, it becomes more and more concentrated. The more the acid is concentrated, the more damage it does to the tissues, the quicker it deteriorates and breaks down the body, and it quickly leads to the disease process and the aging process. And one other side of this I'll just throw in there for general education. All of the pathogens, the things in life that can make you sick, that could eventually kill you, things that we commonly know of as pathogens like bacteria, fungus, mold, yeast, viruses, cancers, mycoplasmas, all these things that have the ability to make you sick and eventually kill you, they all thrive in an acidic environment low in oxygen. None of them thrive in the alkaline environment that's rich in oxygen. So as acids accumulate in your body, you're not only degrading and burning and destroying tissue, you're also setting up the environment that the pathogens thrive in. It's like you're putting out the red carpet for them. So the more toxic and acidic your tissues become, the faster you age and the more vulnerable you are to the disease process, including cancers. All these things flourish in the acidic environment that's low in oxygen. None of them can flourish in the alkaline environment that's rich in oxygen. That's another thing I should share with you, is that when you have an alkaline environment, it's always rich in oxygen. That's why our body is meant to be alkaline, because we need oxygen to survive. So the more alkaline something is, the more oxygen is available in that liquid. The more acidic something is, the less oxygen is available in it. And we produce our energy by the respiration of oxygen. The pathogens that cause disease, they produce their energy by the respiration of hydrogen. So they thrive in a high hydrogen acidic environment. We thrive in a high alkaline oxygen environment. So that's another thing that Kangen water does, is it provides that alkalinity, not just to neutralize acid waste, but to maintain an alkaline high oxygen environment that isn't conducive to disease. So that's a long, drawn-out explanation of one of the benefits of the water. So we've talked about three of them now. We've talked about the water's ability as an antioxidant, its ability to neutralize acids, and now its ability to provide alkalinity to maintain health and keep the bloodstream healthy. There's a fourth property. I can look at my clock. I see we're running out of time, so I won't go into great detail, but a fourth property of the water is that it's microclustered, and that simply means it's smaller water. Water is usually found in a cluster of molecules, just like a bunch of grapes on the vine. But in order to hydrate the cells, you got to break those individual grapes free and get those individual molecules into the cell, because the membranes in the cell the clusters can't fit through them. They're too big. So ordinary water might have 15 or 20 or 30 molecules in a cluster, and your ability to hydrate the cells depends on your ability to break down those clusters and get the individual molecules. With Kangen water, when you run it through the machine, again, that 230-watt electrical current, the ordinary water that maybe came in as 15 or 20 molecules per cluster, when the electrical current hits it, it breaks up or defragments those clusters. So instead of having 15 or 20 or 30 molecules in a cluster, it's only got 4 or 5, maybe 6 molecules in a cluster. The more molecules in a water cluster, the harder it is, the stronger the bonds that hold it together, the harder it is to break apart the individual molecule you need to hydrate your cells. But with Kangen water, you've only got 4, 5, or 6 molecules in the cluster, so that weakens those bonds so they freely dissociate and easily break up. So you literally have an abundance of individual molecules. So this water is more hydrating. This water literally hydrates your cells 300% more efficiently than ordinary water, because the clusters are broken up easily, so you have all these individual molecules that can easily cross through the membrane. They're called aquaporin channels on the cell membrane that take water into the cell. So with Kangen water, you have the ability to get these everything is delivered into the cell, vitamins, minerals, fuel from your food, proteins, carbohydrates, essential fatty acids, enzymes, vitamins, minerals, all the things that are taken into the cell that the cell uses to keep us healthy and promote life. They're all taken into the cell 3 times faster when you drink Kangen water. Also, just as importantly, the waste products, the things that are left over, the acidic residuals that are left over after you make energy, they're cleaned out of the cells. They're removed from the body tissues 3 times faster when you drink Kangen water. So that's another incredible benefit of the water.